This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. This WWE star is now on the AAA roster. Permanently? Question mark. This AEW star is sticking around for a little bit longer, but not for the reasons you think. And WWE announces a new pay-per-view with a change, and it's going head-to-head with AEW. Things are getting all sorts of crazy. We've got Naomi relinquishing her title. We've got our Forbidden Door preview. This is your AEW Forbidden Door go-home show. Help me break it all down, sort it all out, go through these picks. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Cuz I know we're running a great network, but I got to let you know I've been fornicating quite a bit. I'm going to need the next 9 months off because I think I knocked out my wife. It might be something where we need to take a pause. It's I know we're rolling along 13 years in, but it may be something where I got to take time away to become a dad again. So it's one of those things. I'm not sure where my seed's been going, but listen, it happens. It's normal. It's a natural part of life. And I know it might cause a disruption, but listen, we got to talk about it. No, in all seriousness, you and I have talked about it. Man, I was a little bit not as welcoming of the Naomi news as many people were because of the fact that just from the, I know the family side. It's very important. She's 37 years old, but there's also a business side that things probably had to be changed at a massive clip because of this. And from the way it's been described, it feels like an oops public situation. So I looked at it from the wrestling side. And you and I have been in kind of discussion with Kenny as well that, you know, it's interesting and it puts a unique spin on the job that Triple H and the writers have to do because at any one moment you could be putting a rocket ship on somebody and they end up getting pregnant. And that's just a year to year and a half change that others have done well, but it's just really interesting because you almost have to, and I know it's probably unethical, but you kind of got to ask the lady, like, hey, what's your kind of thoughts on family planning over the next 2 years? I really kind of want to give you the title, but I respect you if you want to have a family. But I feel like that's probably what was done, but oops can happen. It's weird. What did you make of the Naomi news?
So here's the thing. One, I'm happy for her. I'm happy for Big Jim leaving his big gym inside Naomi for a little bit too long, where now they have a baby. I think it's fantastic for them. I think the unfortunate thing is, we've talked about this before with Naomi. She went to TNA. She walked out of WWE when she had the tag belts with Sasha Banks. She went to TNA. She did her own thing. She proved to herself that she can be a big star. She comes back to WWE. It's a much bigger pond. Can she do it there? Can she duplicate the success that she had in TNA? And it felt like WWE was like, all right, cool. We're going to give you the ball. We're going to roll with you, and we're going to see what you can do. Just as she starts to take off out of the starting blocks, this to me is a stumble. It's unfortunate because she has to relinquish her belt because she could have injuries to the baby. And if you go back to SummerSlam, there was a table spot with her and Jade Cargill where, holy shit, there could have been something done to the baby. So it's crazy that she was able to get through SummerSlam. She was able to have that massive table spot at SummerSlam. But it's unfortunate that I don't know if we'll ever get to see Naomi do everything that she wants to do or can do at the highest of levels in WWE. To me, I don't know where this run was going. I don't know if this run was getting off to the start that it necessarily needed to provide the confidence that you need for a wrestler to give them the ball and literally let them run with it. I feel like this just kind of, when she comes back, and look, it was a hell of a promo to lay your belt down. You kicked Adam Pearce out of the ring and you stayed in character the entire time. I thought it was fantastic the way she did it. But I don't know if you come back and you get to pick up where you left off. I don't think she has the clout that, say, a Becky Lynch does, the clout that, say, a Charlotte Flair, who they always seem to try to put a damn title on. The clout that other wrestlers who have had kids have gone away and then come back and just, here's your belt back. You get to pick up and you get to continue. I don't know if she has that. I think she has gotten herself very much over with the fans. I feel like this new character that she had was kind of in that middle area where it was teetering. It was going to go one of two ways. Either it was going to be a massive hit or we're going to have to redo something here. I feel like good on her for having a baby. I just feel like it was just bad timing with where she was at with this title run. And I don't know if when she comes back, that title will be waiting for her. So I'm happy for her in Jimmy Uso or Jimmy Uso. I don't see her being able to come back and be that megastar that she might have been hoping she was, or be that megastar that she was in TNA. It just, in WWE, to me, it feels like she will always be a very mid-card wrestler, and that's unfortunate.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those deals, but that's how it goes. What'd you make of the week in WWE? What was the most relevant thing in your mind regarding what you saw on Monday Night Raw? It was an interesting show in regards to some storyline development and how things are progressing towards the Clash at the Castle. But a lot of news was made in regards to further notice and understanding of the fact that you're going to share a little bit later. But there's going to be some new ways to watch WWE after Clash at the Castle.
We'll talk about that a little bit later on the show, but I think the big thing obviously was Naomi laying her belt down. There were rumors the week prior, and this was just confirmation of those rumors. I think that was probably the biggest thing. I think the second biggest thing is I feel like with the vision, right, with Seth Rollins' group, we need to come up with something maybe a little bit different, right? Like, to me, it seems very copy and paste. They come out, they open the show with a 20-minute segment. They basically introduce everybody. They run down other people, and then you have a match to close the night, and there's always some sort of disqualification, and the bad guys stand tall. At a certain point, you've got to start to reinvent this wheel a little bit. Coming out of what we got this week, we find out that it's going to be Roman Reigns having a match against Bronson Reed, obviously looking to get his shoes back, get his Jordans back that he wrestles in. But to me, I'm starting to get a little bit of a stale taste in my mouth with the vision. And I think that was probably the overarching big thing that I'm pulling from this week. Also, you have guys moving around. LA Knight now on Monday Night Raw. I think that's a good fit for him. Sami Zayn now on SmackDown. I think that's a good fit for him. So those were the big things that I really pulled out of WWE this week. What did you latch onto? What did you like? What did you dislike?
Man, I'm still liking the Penta feud. I like it. I like what Penta does in the ring. I feel like his star is steadily growing. The matches were pretty good, all the way across the board. I'm wishing though that I think that WWE is not giving the fans one thing that they like. I feel like the Natalya rugged character she's been using away from WWE probably would be useful in this incarnation of WWE. I feel like they should tap into that. I feel like there's some characters that could use a little bit of spice in what they got going on. But I love the fact that LA Knight's been kind of pushed into the main event, and man, Seth Rollins' group is on fire.
Yeah, it's that Natalya character, the one that she's using in AAA, the one that she's using when she goes to other indie promotions. If they can find some way to make her relevant, I feel like that's another person, right? Very similar to Naomi, incredibly talented in her own right, has a group of fans that are really invested in her. WWE always seems to kind of use her as fodder to get other people over, right? Like in this moment in time, they're trying to help get Maxine Dupree over with her. I feel like let her kind of branch out on her own, do something different, be something different, and see how far she can run, see how far she can take whatever this character is. Sometimes things just pop in the right way, and this might be her new thing to kind of get her off the ground and get her, dare I say, more relevant in the WWE universe. Natty Neidhart has always kind of felt like a good workhorse, but never a star. This could be her moment to be a star. Give her the runway she needs. Let her do her thing. Speaking of runway, we've got 9 matches. We've got a long runway. We've got 9 matches for AEW's Forbidden Door. We had a couple go home shows. I believe that we're going to probably get 2, maybe 3 multi-man, multi-women matches added to this card, added to the 9 that we already have. You know how AEW does it. They're jam-packed pay-per-view cards. What did you think of the go-home shows this week for AEW? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs kind of in the middle. Where were you at?
It kind of thumbs in the middle. I don't think that the storylines were bumping to the degree. I mean, I really like Will Ospreay and the manner in which he's sharing it. I just feel like everything was just kind of rushed into this. Like, that's kind of how it is with Forbidden Door, the way it kind of hits. It's just the story. I guess the biggest thing for a lot of these matches is the why. And I get it's Forbidden Door and things like that, but I just feel like it's just, boom, here we are. And stuff is just happening, especially with how I feel like the stuff with Cope and Christian could have been done over the course of 5 months. It's just a little bit rushed. The in-ring product is great. The matches are always good. It's just the storytelling, I feel like, could be done in a little bit of a different way. It's just very much like, boom, okay, we're going to do this, and this is what's going to happen, and it goes boom, 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 boom. It's just really fast. It doesn't give you a chance to digest a whole lot of it, but in the end, Forbidden Door is one of my favorites. I do like seeing the matchups that are going to take place. We always get confused as to who's going to get over, so getting a point in this one's always special because it's one of the toughest ones to call. And like I said, similarly to WWE, a lot of talk for AEW has just been some of the side stuff with, like, a lot of people still talking about Cody Rhodes, Tony Khan. Could another company rival where they could air their shows against AEW? So it's a lot of stuff that's dramatic outside the ring. It's because of the fact that WWE steals a lot of the headlines, and AEW is trying their best to do a lot of different things, but it's just not at the level now where WWE is just going full force, full throttle in a lot of different ways. But the good thing is when the pay-per-views happen, you know you're going to get crazy matchups. Is this pay-per-view starting off at like noon and then 1 o'clock Eastern time? Like, it's going to go 6 hours?
It's going to be another long one, and because they're over in London, you're going to get an earlier start time. This is going to be a 1 p.m. start time for the main card. I believe your undercard is going to probably start 11:30, 12 o'clock. Sunday, it's going to be a jam-packed day for you. I know if you're taking this in, you'll probably end up watching this all the way up until our fantasy draft, where you'll show up for that, and then you'll possibly get murdered because I'm holding down my championship again. You're not getting it from me. Just a little bit of a trash talk there from us. But no, man, this is going to be an early pay-per-view, which is fantastic because a lot of times I think our biggest bitch with the AEW pay-per-views is they're 6 hours long and they start at 7 o'clock at night. So you're not getting done with these things until close to 1, 2 in the morning. And you're like, what the hell's going on here? I got to go to work the next day. So I think this works out really, really well. You get that early start. It's going to be interesting to see what AEW does going forward with their pay-per-views, especially with WWE doing what they're doing. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. It really does seem like a ton of counter programming for a company that's not necessarily competition. WWE's words, not our words. So it'll be interesting to see what AEW does to maybe counter program the counter programming that's going on with WWE. But all that said, let's get into Forbidden Door. This is our preview show. This is us giving our picks, giving our selections on who we believe is going to come away the big winner in these matches. Kicking it off, we've got Adam Copeland and Christian Cage reuniting. Kinda. Christian still seems to be a little bit of a dick, not quite back to their old roots, not back to where they used to be. Taking on a returning Kill Switch, aka Luchasaurus and Kip Sabian, as Nick Wayne is dealing with a broken ankle. So Christian Cage has a bit of a situation with his old family. Adam Copeland's coming in to help out. Who do you see winning this match?
Listen, it's one of those deals where Cope and Christian, right?
Yep.
You've seen this reunion. How do you? Because what I look at it too is like, how could AEW botch it? That's where my mind goes initially. It's like, okay, we all want to see them rise so that they fight off against some big tag teams, but could they botch it? Could they? And one thing too is that a lot of these great podcasts and a lot of these great fans also say, could this reunion be fake? Could Cope and Christian actually have a feud where Christian really is still heel and something happens. So, but no, I think that this is a fairy tale. I want this to be a fairy tale. I don't want this to end up being where this is a continuation of Christian trying to swerve his guy. So give me the Hall of Famers. Give me Cope and Christian.
Yeah, look, I can see this going both ways, right? You obviously you have your fairy tale story. At some point, Copeland and Christian Cage are going to fight FTR. The AEW tag team titles are supposed to be on the line when we get to that point. So you've got that going on, but you also are bringing back a returning fan favorite in Luchasaurus, aka Killswitch, Kip Sabian. I think this is like one of the first times he's been on a pay-per-view. Do you want this guy to lose, especially since he's now the pseudo leader of this new faction? To me, it seems like you've kind of booked yourself into a weird little corner here. All that being said, I think you go with Adam Copeland, Christian Cage. I think they get the win. I don't know what you're going to necessarily do with this faction. I would hate for you to have invested all this time, tried to give them the Christian Cage rub, and then just use them as mid-card fodder. It would be really, really sad if they did that. But I'm in line with you. I'm gonna go Christian Cage, and I'm gonna go Adam Copeland for the win. Next, we've got Darby Allin, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kota Ibushi taking on Jon Moxley, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Gabe Kidd, and Claudio Castagnoli in a lights-out steel cage match. This is the one thing I will say. Watching Dynamite the other day, Tanahashi looks like he can hardly move. That guy looked like he was taking baby steps all the way down to the ring, and they were very, very stiff-legged. He almost looked like he couldn't get into the ring. And then when he was in the ring, he looked like he was moving at a incredibly slow pace. Like you put it on slow-mo and you slow it down a little bit more. I don't know how much more Tanahashi has left. I know that he is retiring at this year's Tokyo Dome. He's basically has 3 months left until he's done. I see this being a match where they wanted to get a guy from New Japan in, and this is a match where he can kind of be hidden. You're going to have high flyers like Will Ospreay, Darby Allin, Kenny Omega. You're going to have Kota Ibushi coming in, and these guys can do a lot of the heavy lifting and kind of protect Tanahashi. All that being said, I think those guys win. I think the faces win here. It wouldn't make sense to me for Jon Moxley and his crew to get the W here. But what also makes sense to me is it seems like Will Ospreay's more banged up than we thought. I think Will Ospreay gets incredibly hurt in this. And I say hurt, finger quotes. I think he's written off in this match. He goes all out, gets written off TV for a little bit so he can go rest up and get repaired. But I think in doing so, the faces win this match. And I've got the faces coming out of the winner in the lights out steel cage match.
I agree with you. I think this one has a chance to be sneaky, but yeah, the way he was walking to the ring, I was like, man, they should have maybe cut the commercial, right?
Bro, it was bad. I was like, holy cow, I didn't realize he was that banged up. It's been a couple years since I've seen a good Tanahashi match, and I was blown away at how bad's probably the best word to use, how bad he looked compared to where I seen him probably 2 years ago. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, next match. We've got our TNT Championship. Kyle Fletcher is defending against Takahashi. Look, it's an AEW guy going up against a New Japan guy. I'm going to go Fletcher on this. I feel like Fletcher has all the makings to be a monster star. I think they're starting to put the pieces together. Also, I don't feel like New Japan ever really gets a fair shake in this deal. I always feel like New Japan guys are kind of taken advantage of by Tony Khan. His guys can go over to New Japan, can get their belts and run around with their belts, but their guys don't ever really get AEW's belts. So I have Fletcher retaining his title here.
No doubt about it. You got something there. You just got to make sure he wrestles safe. And I'm very much curious to see how the rest of the year shakes out for him, because I think he can be a star if they book him right.
Absolutely. Next, we've got our TBS Championship match. This is a fatal four-way. You got Mercedes Moné taking on Alex Windsor, who is the local favorite, taking on Persephone and taking on Godzilla. I have to admit, this is probably one of the more difficult matches to predict, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go with it. I'm kind of split between Mercedes Moné and Alex Windsor. And again, it's almost a coin flip for me between these two. How do you see this match going? Are you in lockstep with me where it's going to be one of these two, or do you maybe see one of the other two kind of coming out of nowhere to take the belt off of Mercedes Moné?
No, Mercedes Moné, you gotta run this further. So Mercedes Moné, in my opinion.
See, I kind of feel like, just to be different than you, I'm going to go Alex Windsor. I told myself I'd go opposite of whatever you went with. I feel like they're starting to take the belts off of Mercedes Moné. I feel like this is the back end of that story where she collected all these championships. Now they're coming off, and I think this is going to help reset her character when we get to the end of it. I think this is a good way to maybe hype up Alex Windsor. I'll be honest with you, watching her on Dynamite this week, I didn't really get superstar vibes, but I'm going to go Alex Windsor. Just going to throw it out there, see what happens. Again, just going different than you, just to be different. Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, the Hurt Syndicate, are defending their AEW tag team titles against Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, FTR. Also defending against Bandito and Brody King in a triple threat match. I feel like this match was set up to where the titles can come off of the Hurt Syndicate without the Hurt Syndicate getting pinned, if that makes any sense. And because of that logic, I've got FTR pinning either Bandito or Brody King to become the new champions. What are your thoughts?
No, I think you got to go with the Hurt Syndicate. They got to keep the titles, man. We're not doing that on this pay-per-view. We're not changing. We're keeping the titles on the Hurt Syndicate. They got to stay over.
All right. Next, we got Okada taking on Swerve Strickland for the AEW Unified Championship. I'm going to go with Okada on this one. I would love to see Swerve win. I think that you get some outside interference from Don Callis. I think it ends up costing Swerve this championship match. That being said, I think we're due for a bit of a longer program between these two guys. So I've got Okada winning this.
This one has a chance, man, to be a really good one, too. Okada's been used properly. I feel like his title reign, I think, has a chance to be very special. Okada, man, I just feel like starting him off with a goofy character was weird when you got such a star. I feel like him, Jay White, those guys of the world, the Ospreys, are big, mega stars. And I just feel like what's happening in AEW is they get into the mix and they become lesser stars. And what's happened over the last 12 months is WWE said, watch this, we're star makers, where when we give you the rocket ship, you not only become a star, you become like a champion. And then you become like really over. AEW's not getting their people over and they're not staying over. That's the biggest issue. The staying power is not good. Great, you can pay anybody any amount of money. They have to get over, then they got to stay over. Okada's got to do more work to stay over, in my opinion, and he does with this match.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost feels like he's taking a paycheck at this point. Like he went to AEW and he was like, just give me a paycheck, guys. I want to cash that. It hasn't been the most interesting run from arguably one of the world's best wrestlers, especially a guy who 5, 6, 10 years ago, probably. Yeah, you go from 10 years ago to 5 years ago. During that run, he was one of the best wrestlers in all of the world. And it just kind of feels like since he's come to AEW, he's put it into cruise control and he's just kind of coasting into his retirement, whenever that may be. All right, next we've got the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. This is a really cool story. It would be nice to see Nigel McGuinness win it from Zack Sabre Jr. That being said, I don't think Nigel McGuinness wins this. I think Zack Sabre Jr. retains his championship. I would love to see Nigel McGuinness win this belt. I just don't see it happen. I've got Zack Sabre Jr. winning it and coming away as the victor.
100%. Zack Sabre Jr., man. That's going to be fun. He's always done good and always gotten his name in the news when he's had these matches at Forbidden Door.
Next, we've got Toni Storm taking on Athena. This is for the AEW Women's World Championship. This is really tough, man. Like I said, I feel like Toni Storm's been doing some of her absolute best work ever as Timeless Toni Storm. You've shown that you can take the belt off of her. She can still stay relevant and she can still stay in the headlines. She is still super over with the fans. I feel like she's doing some of her best work. Athena, ROH Women's Champion, she's doing a lot of really good work herself. This is a tough one for me, and it just kind of comes down to, like, at some point you got to kind of give Athena a little bit of a run, right? Like, Athena's been there forever. She's done the hard work. She's your ROH Women's Champ. Is this the time where you give her the ball and let her run with it and see what she can do? I don't think so. I think Toni Storm gets the win. I think you could set up a longer story between these two women and have it be really, really interesting. I feel like a lot of the stories on this card were incredibly rushed and you didn't really get the build that you needed. And I usually feel like that's the same thing I say every year when we get to Forbidden Door, which is one of my more favorite pay-per-views. But the stories leading up to it always feel incredibly forced and incredibly rushed. And you really should have just let them breathe a little bit. That being said, I feel like this is a story that needs to breathe a little bit. I don't think you take the belt off of Toni Storm right now.
Absolutely not. Toni Storm's got to win. She's one of the biggest reasons the company is getting so much attention. She's one of the characters that is over and has stayed over. So Toni Storm, it's always something funny to watch. And two, to pay attention to what she's going to say in the post event scrum. So it's going to be fun.
Always so good. Next, our main event, we've got Hangman Page taking on MJF for the AEW World Championship. Now, this title can change hands on a countout or a disqualification. These were rules that MJF forced Hangman Page into on Wednesday night's Dynamite as he threatened to set fire to Jay Briscoe. Mark Briscoe? Jay Briscoe. So whichever Briscoe brothers left alive. My bad on that. I got them mixed up there. Sound like an idiot doing a wrestling podcast, getting those guys mixed up. My fault. Look, man, I don't think you take the belt off Hangman Page. I think it's just way too early. I love MJF. I know why he did this. I can see some shenanigans coming into play. That being said, I still think there's a lot of meat on the bone with that Swerve Strickland story. Maybe Swerve comes out and helps him. Maybe you get one of the guys who are in one of those crazy steel cage matches comes out and helps. I don't think you take the belt off of Hangman right now. I think you leave the belt on Hangman. It's not time to remove it from him. He just got it. It would, to me, be a huge disservice to the Hangman.
No doubt about it. Hangman Page is in for a long run. It's going to take somebody special. Maybe, I'm not sure yet who's the next in line, but right now it's the Hangman era. You got to appreciate it.
For sure. Absolutely. We take a quick look at calling the card. I lead by 3, 7-4 over the Doc. Real quick summary of our matches, because this is one of the first prediction shows that we've done where we have quite a few that differ. We see things very differently on this card. That's usually not the case. We're pretty much in lockstep a lot of the times. But going backwards from the main event, we've got Hangman Page retaining. We have Toni Storm retaining. We have Zack Sabre Jr. retaining. We have Okada retaining. I've got FTR becoming the new AEW Tag Team Champs. You've got Hurt Syndicate retaining. I've got Alex Windsor winning the TBS Championship. You've got Mercedes Moné retaining. We both have Kyle Fletcher retaining his TNT Championship. We both have the Faces winning the Lights Out Steel Cage match. The Faces consist of Darby Allin, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Kota Ibushi. And then we both have Adam Copeland and Christian Cage beating Killswitch and Kip Sabian. Again, AEW's Forbidden Door takes place Sunday, August 24th at 1 p.m. Tune in. I think it's going to be a great show. I'm expecting more matches added to this undercard, more multi-man matches, trying to get everybody on this show that they can get on this show. Would you like some news and notes this week, sir?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. It's a juicy one. What made your list?
So this WWE star is now a permanent member of the AAA roster after his Triple Mania debut. The August 16th show saw numerous WWE stars in action, including Omos, who wrestled in his first match under a WWE-owned brand since April of 2024's Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Omos was a surprise entrance in the Copa Bardali match, which he ultimately won, with some thoughts that Omos' appearance here was in preparation for his return to WWE's main roster. WWE has now referred to Omos as a AAA superstar, meaning that the big man is officially moved to AAA. This AEW star is sticking around for a little bit longer, but not why you might think. It was reported that Danhausen's contract with the company was set to expire in the summer of this year, but it seems as though Danhausen will be staying under contract with AEW for a little while longer. Per Fightful Select, Danhausen's contract with the company has been extended due to injury time. Fightful was told that Danhausen would have preferred his contract just be let to expire if the company has no creative plans for him in the future. Remember, AEW also added injury time into the contracts of both Rey Fenix and Penta last year, with Penta's deal expiring in January prior to his WWE debut, and Phoenix being granted his release in March. AEW said that they weren't going to ever do this as a WWE tactic, and they weren't going to do this. They have switched their mindset on that. Danhausen would make his return at the ROH Final Battle event in December of 2024. Although he hasn't wrestled for his for the promotion since that return. So they're doing a whole lot of nothing with Danhausen right now. It's going on in December, it'll be close to a year that he hasn't wrestled for the company and he's been healthy. So interesting that they're just holding on to this guy. And it doesn't really seem like WWE would be interested in that type of character. So I don't know why they're doing that, but they are doing that. Now, the big news, WWE announces a new pay-per-view with changes. It's going head-to-head with AEW. Now, on September 20th, 2025, AEW will host All Out at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Canada. To counter-program this, WWE has announced plans for a pay-per-view called WrestlePalooza that will air on the new ESPN streaming service. Now, this is significant because WWE's partnership with ESPN was officially announced to start with the September 20th WrestlePalooza event, with WWE main roster PLEs or pay-per-views leaving Peacock. So the final main roster PLE pay-per-view show on Peacock will be Clash in Paris, and then everything else is going to be moving to ESPN except NXT. Per the Hollywood Reporter, NXT's premium live events will still be streamed on NBC's Peacock following the switch to ESPN. NBC Sports also announced that it has reached a deal with WWE to stream Saturday night's main event live on Peacock 4 times a year. The deal includes 2 more Saturday night main event shows for 2025, one on November 1st and another on December 13th, which is confirmed to be the date of John Cena's retirement match. Now, WWE has come out to basically say that they negotiated their way out of the NBC Peacock deal, and that was the reason for so many pay-per-views this year. They had a number that they had to meet, and that's why they started doing the 2-night events with SummerSlam and WrestleMania. And because that they met that number, they said that they had fulfilled their obligation to NBC and they were allowed to be released from their contract, which is, I'm going to be honest with you, super shitty for the rest of us because this move to ESPN is going to be tough. It's going to be $30 a month, whereas you're paying $7 to $10 right now for Peacock. I know that there's something worked out with cable providers, but not every cable provider or streaming service is included in it. So it's going to be weird. This is going to be a bit of an adventure. I feel like this is being hastily done. And the interesting thing is going to be to see what ESPN does when this contract comes up. If you noticed, Fox was very upset with SmackDown and their numbers. There were obviously NBC did not renew Raw because they were upset with their numbers. However, they did hold on to SmackDown. You looked at Netflix. Netflix has reportedly been upset with the numbers that WWE is pulling in now. So what's going to happen with ESPN, where they're going to be dumping a lot more money, obviously, and a lot more resources with ESPN.com into them. And that's the other thing. ESPN.com has already scrubbed all of the AEW information. So you can't find any AEW stories or anything related to AEW on ESPN.com because they've gone and scrubbed that because of their new partnership with WWE. So something to monitor, something to pay attention to. And finally, our last I don't know, you want to call it a rumor, call it news notes, whatever. This superstar could be on the move. According to a recent report, a huge AEW star could be headed back to WWE. WrestleVotes Radio reported earlier this week that there is significant interest from within WWE, including from active talent in bringing Chris Jericho back to the company. They went on to say, we can confirm after speaking to our sources that there is significant interest in Chris Jericho coming back to WWE once his AEW contract would allow him to do so. We're told that several within WWE, including active talent, would like to see him return to the company. Jericho has been absent from AEW programming since April, with his contract with the company reportedly set to expire towards the end of 2025. There's been plenty of speculation regarding a potential return to WWE. In recent weeks, Jericho has liked a post talking about his return to WWE. That's where a lot of this is getting a lot of gasoline to keep the fire burning. Jericho has spent the last 6 years in AEW and was All Elite Wrestling's marquee signing upon the company's inception in 2019, becoming the inaugural AEW World Champion at the company's All Out 2019 pay-per-view. So again, something to monitor. Could be something there. Could be Jericho just drumming up interest in his return to AEW. We'll see what happens. I think you and I are on different sides of this. I don't believe he's going back to WWE, at least not right now. I think maybe later on, probably another contract from AEW. He might finish his career in WWE, but I think right now he's pretty loyal to AEW. I think you might think that there's maybe some fire where that smoke is coming from.
No doubt. I want to see some of these feuds that could happen. LA Knight, Seth Rollins, one more time with Kevin Owens, and with Logan Paul. 4 matches, 1 year, get in, get out, become management, become someone's valet maybe for 6 months, maybe become Natalie's valet for Natalia's valet for one last run and get after it. Start a little faction and keep getting after it. I'm really excited. And let's see what happens because listen, and listening to a lot of shows and analyzing it, just think about it. The same entrance that he used at when he debuted with The Rock in the Royal Rumble, the countdown clock. Y2J Chris Jericho? It's a nostalgia act. It's gimmicky, but I'm all for it. But listen, it's WWE. He's 54. He's gonna be 55 when he signs the contract. So that's a little old. Just 4-match run, $1 million, get in, get out, and let's not overextend this. We'll see what happens, but it does have the feel that he's got to return home and retire. But I don't know. I don't know how it's going to all shake out. But in the end, let's see if it ends up being good. If this ends up being good for this news, this rumors, and innuendos is good for Chris Jericho. Make sure you follow Adam on X at AdamRSJROZ. Follow us at Detroit Podcast. So much good content. Oh, my goodness. Wrestling has been in a great spot right now. There's so many people doing it. It's a fun time. There's opportunities galore for individuals to get in the content game and talk about wrestling. There's so much good content with Raw, SmackDown. Yeah, the broadcast with ESPN is going to be wonky. There's going to be glitches. There's going to be complaints. But look, it's 2025. We all have our alternative entertainment ways. We all have our AEW ways to get content. So we'll figure it out, and we'll continue to bring you some great we'll bring you great Detroit sports content and break it all down weekly in the world of professional wrestling. I can't wait for next week as we break it all down on the next episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. Forbidden Door. It might be still going on by the time we broadcast. Let's find out.